What do you find has derailed some of your clients who may be in their 40s and 50s in terms of their retirement savings? They anticipated having more than they have now. Is it market volatility? Is it habits that they may have had? What are some of the reasons?
Let's think about the 40s and 50s. You have talked about us, Gen Xers. So if I just kind of think about my journey along with the clients who are also Gen Xers, we're considered the sandwich generation for a reason. We have two generations ahead of us, and that's baby boomers and the silent generation. And we have two generations that are in the workforce behind us. That's millennials and also Gen Zers. So what we find ourselves, particularly for those who may be a first generation, and there are a lot of people in that category where they're actually supporting the generations ahead of them and also building, expanding their family, which requires resources for the generations behind them. So if you just think about where we are in our life cycle, yes, indeed, we are in our higher earning years and our responsibilities have increased accordingly. The other factor is many of us have changed jobs over time and may even had to relocate. And so keeping that continuity of your rhythm when you're changing locations, which may also include an increase in cost of living based on where your job is. Thank goodness now things have changed where you can work remotely, but that wasn't the case when we were building our careers as Gen Xers. So life has just happened and the responsibility, particularly financial responsibilities, have increased as well too, as we're trying to align our jobs and our incomes and where we live with our lifestyle.
Absolutely. There's so many factors competing here. But one thing you brought up, Lazetta, that I think is important to point out, and Dan, you all may have done some research in this area, is looking at first generation savers, workers, and where they are in terms of their retirement. There are some stark differences, I know, from your studies on gender and race and where people are with their retirement savings. What do financial advisors need to know about this to be informed as they try to attract and retain clients?
So I think, it's important to think about, people do come from a different place, right? Some people have parents that are very financially knowledgeable. We're really thinking about in terms of just building systems, having systems so people, start saving and they have money building up so that when they do engage with a financial advisor, say if that's in the 40s, that is too late to start. This whole endeavor is much more efficient if we have user-friendly programs where people either default in or it's really easy to get in and, build those resources so then when they do sit down and have these conversations, it's really a much more positive conversation and there's not big surprises in terms of what do I have and what does that mean for retirement income and being able to retire.
And Dan, we have talked about so many doom and gloom numbers in terms of where people are with their retirement savings, particularly those in their 40s and 50s. Are there any stats from your reports that you think bring some hope into the retirement situation for folks who are Gen Xers?
Well, obviously, it's never too late to get started and to make progress. I think broadly, when we look at retirement systems, we are seeing movement in the right direction. So we're seeing more auto-enrollment, more auto-escalation. We're seeing defaults set at savings levels that are more realistic. I think in the past, we were afraid to have a default level with a significant contribution. It might be 3%. Maybe there's a match. And default investments, we're now feeling safe about offering lifetime income. If I'm 25 years old, I don't need to be in a super safe investment. But I think legally, years ago, we were doing that because legally we didn't want to be putting people into something with risk. But I think the industry has moved on and recognized, and the legal constructs have changed enough that, the systems that exist are looking more user-friendly. Defaults options are a good decision, and I see that as a positive. The real problem in our mind is there's still far too many people left out of those systems, and we are seeing some states stepping up and saying, like, if you're working and your employer doesn't offer a plan, we're going to automatically start you on a path towards saving. And the people in that situation tend to be pretty low income. But we also know that there's a significant number of Americans that say they can't handle a $400 surprise expense. And if you think about systemically building some wealth, this could be really promising in terms of helping people. And frankly, getting people started earlier. So like we said earlier, so that when they do have that conversation with an advisor someday, they'll have something more that they're bringing to that table.
Absolutely. The earlier you start is so important, and the education is key.